If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where it is Friday night, an unusual night, a strange day, a great day, a bad day. It's all political, and it's all straight down political lines. So tonight, with everybody from SHR and from KLRN, well, not everyone from KLRN, but the people that count at this point, it's an SHR Media Network special report, Trump and Zelensky. So what the hell is going to happen next? So I'd like to operate in this order. Welcome to SHAUN. Welcome to Jersey Joe. Welcome to Rick. Big E Jackson will be here when he can. So what I'd like to do is start off with the predicating snippet of video that kind of started this. And first, to all of you guys, we saw the cool parts, and I'm just going to play the cool part. It's only, I don't know, there's maybe 10 minutes or so in this thing. And as I play it, I mean, but the whole thing lasted an hour and a half or so. But everybody was talking about this being an ambush. The ambush was actually of Zelensky himself, of Rubio and Trump and J.D. Vance. So did you guys happen to see a good portion of that, or how did you come across that?
I guess I'll start. It was everywhere. Well, it's like everything else in this industry. As soon as something newsworthy happens on a large scale, everybody starts bombarding you with the clips. And I don't think I saw it in its entirety, but I saw it in its entirety through a series of 1 to 3 minutes clips. Obviously out of order, nonetheless. But I mean, obviously the point was there. What happened was very obvious. And as we will get into, it was the petulant child stomping his feet.
Majetsky. That's what I call him.
But the thing of it is, it's gone down. It's like anything else. It's gone down like the impeachment, like Russia, like any of the other things that came down. It's all about, it's whose side of the aisle are you on? You know, the Cheney came down. Who's that bald guy that's a super rhino? Karl Rove. He was on stage for him. And he came down. I'm like, oh, well, this is horrible. This negotiation, and they wish that this administration is so terrible. The standard rhinos went rhino. The Democrats went Democrats. The American media maggots went Democrats.
Well, I would like to make one point of order. Not all of the standard rhinos went standard rhino because there may not be Zelensky files, but I guarantee you there's a Lindsey Graham file and Donald Trump knows where it's at.
And the funny thing is, would you guys be surprised if I had that Lindsey Graham cut a little bit later? But you're right.
No, really.
The war hawk, who never met a war that he didn't mind sending other kids out to, all of a sudden came around to Trump and said, "Well, this was kind of we'll play that in time."
We'll save that part for that part of the show. Joe, go ahead because I'm the guest and he already called on you. I just interrupted.
Hey, I got to watch it, and I think he did this all on purpose. He thought he had the power because the Democrats are in his ear telling him how to do this. So he set up the rare earth deal. Oh, I'm going to come in and sign it. And he thought he can come in and, well, I want troops on the ground, and then I'll sign it. And Trump kind of just went, nope.
Well, the funny thing is, as I noticed, and I don't know if you guys saw this part, but he was wearing his MAGA hat going out to his helicopter and whatnot. Somebody asked him a question. I couldn't hear what it was because that big motor was in the background. And he started right off with Tim Cook, Apple, $500 billion, bringing it back to the United States. And nobody got, I'm sure you guys did, but nobody else got the point of, why are you talking about Apple when we're talking about Zelensky? And the dealio was, as you guys already know, that you've made the linkulus is, well, Tim Cook was hoping that if you do a deal, the rare earth materials and metals that Ukraine has, that we have in Alaska, would be released, and then that's a good thing for Apple. But for whatever reason, a lot of people didn't see that linkage and couldn't understand, well, why are you talking about Apple when we're here to talk about Ukraine, which was weird.
Well, and, Joe kind of hit the nail directly on the head when he said Democrats are telling him, yes, that's exactly what it is. The Democrats were coaching him going into this as to what to do and what to say, because he knows that they, on some level, have his back and want to continue the war hawking that they've been doing. And suddenly we've talked about this in the past. This isn't anything new. It kills me that the side of peace and tolerance is all about war and mayhem suddenly.
And isn't it weird? Ain't it weird that everything went 180 in terms of, well, the consistent war hawks used to be, as people would proclaim, the GOP, and then all that shit flipped amazingly.
Yeah. And I think, I don't necessarily think things flipped. I just think that we've gotten people in charge who understand the gravity of war versus having war just happen because they made money off of it. And I think that's a huge difference.
You mean the adults are back in charge?
Yes, 100%. 100% the adults are back in charge.
Well, the thing that I found remarkably, and this illustrates it right here, I think, wonderfully, is where's Biden? Where's that guy? I want to talk to that guy. Now, didn't anybody anywhere take Zelensky aside and said, are you not fucking reading the room, dude? Are you not reading the temper of the times? Did November 5th pass you by? What about that shit made you think that you could speak to Trump as if this guy was Biden? Where the hell did that come from?
Well, you're
the last administration
in there though too. There's never any record of those guys having any kind of conversation. There's nothing. He basically walked in anytime he was in DC. He walked into the Oval Office. He shook hands. He took pictures. He walked out with a wad of cash, and he went back home and did a victory lap. That didn't happen this time. And one of the things that drives me the most crazy, because there were parts of this that I didn't know until I was listening to the second part of the Bret Baier interview, which I have a question about the first part of the Bret Baier interview. Why was Majetsky talking like Boris and Natasha in that interview? Because I've heard him, and he can speak English better than he did in that interview.
He can.
That was driving me nuts. But then, so Bret Baier brings on panelists, and then they have a discussion about it. And then he has the Treasury Secretary on, and he's like, there's backstory here that nobody knows. This thing was supposed to be signed 3 weeks ago, and he backed out. And then he said, well, I'll sign it in Munich. So he met with the Secretary of State, and he met with Vice President Vance in Munich, and then he decided he wasn't going to sign it again. So then he came to the White House again today and said, this is when I will sign it. And then he starts trying to buck the room. I want more money. I want troops on the ground. And then he looks at Trump and says, why should we listen to Putin? Because he's broken ceasefires with everybody he's ever negotiated with them with. And Trump looks him straight in the eye and says, he's never broken any deals with me. He said, yes, he broke one with Bush. He broke one with Obama, and he broke one with Biden, but he's never broken one with me. Well, I need guarantees. He's never broken a deal with me. I understand Zelensky English is not his first language, but if you want to get really technical, sometimes it seems like English might not be Trump's first language either. But the point that Trump was trying to make is, I am your guarantee. He's never broken a deal with me.
He doesn't want to cross America, and he knows better. No matter what Bulin's
he doesn't want to cross Trump because he knows better.
Well, that's why you have to be able to read the room. That's why if you didn't see or understand how Trump got to be president and you think you're going to try to pull this in front of him, you know, people are saying, oh, both sides, well, particularly Trump and certainly J.D. Vance. I think Jersey Joe, you mentioned this first. The word petulant was perfect. Or Sean, it doesn't make any difference.
It was me.
Petulant is a perfect word for this guy because he thought that he was going to be able to walk in and that he carried the big stick. How can you do this? How can you be so daft unless you're A, fucking stupid, or B, someone somewhere got to you and coached you insofar as saying, if you come off like a little bit of a strong man, then Trump will respect you for that.
Not good advice.
That's not gonna happen.
In my world, though, I saw something good today.
Oh, there were a lot of things great.
Now, I'm wasn't exactly happy when Vance was chosen as VP. I worried about him a little bit. But I'll tell you what, I've been warming up to him. But what I saw today, he earned a lot of respect for him because he acted like somebody backing up the president. He was right there, stood up for him, didn't take no shit. In fact, he acted a little presidential too. So he kind of,
Well, he showed his what he's made of, really. He showed what he's able to do. He showed, look, I'm the same way with you, Joe. I wasn't sure about the Vance pick, and as time has progressed, I've warmed up to him. Actually, during the campaign, I thought he was fantastic as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Since the inauguration, it's gone so much further as far as my respect and admiration, if you will, for him. I feel he shows that he can be president at any time.
Yep.
And that is actually an amazing amount of protection for Trump. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. The last guy, we won't say his name, but Race Bannon,
No. Cotton Hill.
Cotton Hill. He was such a rhino, a centrist rhino, that they wanted to get to him and get rid of Trump. They would have been thrilled with a Mike Pence in office.
Oh, hell yes.
In some ways, we really didn't see a lot of, at least I didn't. I wasn't exactly hooray Pence, but when he was in, not until the end did I go, holy shit, that guy's an asshole.
Well, you didn't hear from him all that much. Right. But then you see, and it's so funny between this vice president and the last vice president and the vice president before that, why JD stands head and shoulders above the rest.
Yep.
He came out full-throated support of Trump, full-throated support of America. He was not afraid to interject in that conversation and show his values. But the other thing that he's showing, I don't think it's intentional, because I don't think he needs to be intentional with it at this point, is I can lead tomorrow if need be, so don't fuck with this president. Because you're just going to get it worse if you get to me.
So one interjection, because one of the things that I've heard from the left so much in the last 30 days is there's been a couple of times when the press has tried to push Trump to name JD as his successor, and he says, I'm not going to do that. That's just Trump. He's never going to tip his hand. But he did today, because when Zelensky bucked up to JD and Trump said, it's all you, Bubba, that was the sign to America that he is the next guy. Because a guy like Trump, if he didn't trust JD Vance, he would have shut it down in a second and spun away from it. And he even defended Vance, because Zelensky at one point was like, you don't have to shout at me like that. And Trump looks at Zelensky and he says, he's not shouting, but I am.
Well, and I think you bring up a huge point, Rick, that I think is incredible. The fact that JD was even in the room for this meeting shows the trust that Trump has with him.
I mean, compare and contrast this between with Kamila Hamasnik, because if she was in the room, they would have had a fucking ball gag in her mouth, because they would have been trying to make sure she didn't cackle. So then you go back,
have to pay extra for that, though.
Well, not for her. It's just built into the fee package. But anyway, so then you go back to Pence, and he probably wouldn't have been in the room. So then you go back a little further. Obama wouldn't have had Biden in that fucking room.
You want?
And that's the point. Have you guys and anybody that's watching right now, we got 109 people watching right now, as far as I can tell on this end. So thanks for being here tonight. We all greatly appreciate it. Everybody at SHR, Rick Robinson, KLRN, thanks for being here. Name me, if you can, people watching, those here, when have you ever seen before a president and a vice president work so closely together in a lockstep, in apparent agreement on a common goal, a common track, a common path, and they support each other? And I bet, as opposed to previous administrations, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys have lunch together. I wouldn't be surprised if they speak at least once a day. I bet they meet each other every day, perhaps numerous times a day. And I cannot think in my ancient fat ass history of a president and vice president who have apparently to this point worked as closely as I'd see Trump and JD Vance. Thoughts?
No, I mean, I have followed politics, honestly, a lot earlier than a lot of people, probably because I watched Ronald Reagan get shot in second grade on TV. So politics always, it was something that kind of got indelled in me. It was so bad that my parents used to call me the Alex P. Keaton of the house. Just so.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so anyway, so yeah, I mean, I don't think, I mean, even going back to Reagan and Bush, they didn't like each other.
No.
Reagan and Bush was exactly like Trump and Pence. Bush was the selected guy to try to bring the Goldwater crowd back to the votes, because everybody seems to forget that in that time frame, the Goldwater folks were the ones that were running the show. Trump was the one that dethroned a lot of that stuff. Everybody also seems to forget that Reagan ended a lot of that stuff. Everybody also seems to forget that right around that same time, Hillary Clinton was a Goldwater girl. So that tells you how much the Republican Party shifted after Reagan. And now we're watching it again, because you're watching all of these people that used to be leftist that haven't shifted to the center, really. They're just realizing that the left has gone so far past them that now they're in the center, even though they didn't realize they were there. And the rest of us are going, welcome to the party. But that's part of what you're seeing today, because when you've lost Lindsey Graham, I mean, I guarantee you at this point, the few Warhawks that are left in the party, because there aren't very many left, they're despondent. They've probably had their shoelaces collected. They're not allowed to have a belt right now, because they're just looking at this going, I don't know what we're going to do. Because remember, even Joe Biden, the biggest selling point Joe Biden kept trying to make to everybody about how we needed to stay involved in Ukraine is, yes, we've given them $150 billion and Zelensky doesn't know where half of it is. But at the same time, we're giving them our older equipment, which is going to spin up our military industrial complex, which means more money for us. And it never works that way, though.
Ever.
It was a big laundromat. It was a big laundromat. We sent all this money over to Ukraine and then diminished our stocks. Our military stocks require massive replenishment, and to do so is going to be if you're getting an M47 Dragon for whatever the hell that costs, then you're going to pay a hell of a lot more for it now because they're going to have to retool for all that crap. And that's one big grift also for the military industrial complex, who are making money off that money going to Ukraine, then coming back to them.
Well, and here's how it works is, for the people who don't know that BZ just so eloquently put, we send them stuff that we want to get rid of. They use it. We then turn around and commission more newer equipment. The M47 Dragon's not used anymore, by the way.
No, it isn't. That's just a stupid example because
but then the military industrial complex goes to Congress folk and puts money in their campaigns and says, hey, you keep doing what you're going to do, what you're doing now, and we'll make sure you keep getting money. So it does benefit everybody who is a war hawk. And you were talking about, Rick was talking about the last few of the rhinos and the Warhawks left. Look, the two biggest ones that are out. And that is Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, who is absolutely pissing his panties right now.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's my favorite thing. I love watching Adam Kinzinger have a hissy fit. I would pay money for it. If there was like a live show of it, I would go watch it. I don't care if he made money from it. He is the biggest bitch that has ever put on a uniform in this country. And I'm including the people who were men that dress like women. Kinzinger's still the biggest bitch that's ever put on the uniform. And him and Vitamin, all they want to do is have war in Ukraine. That's all they want.
Except for this, I'm making an exception for the German dude. I can't think of the guy's name. It might have been Schultz, who was crying because J.D. Vance spoke the truth to him. Oh, it's so bad. He started crying. Some chick from the audience came up and, oh dear, how sad. Big evil J.D. spoke truth to you.
Dude,
Jesus.
I mean, the whole thing that's driving me crazy with all of this is, so we have that aspect of it, and then we have the fact that that Ukraine basically became the Biden crime family's own personal money laundromat.
Oh, hell yeah.
So this is some of the stuff that we're just now starting to figure out. So not only are we finding that stuff, we then find out about all the USAID stuff. So then we find out that they're making money hand over fist off of USAID. Then we find out that it's become basically a perpetual grift machine for the Democrats to keep pushing the same kind of shit that keeps putting us into wars all over the place. So then here's the thing that I want to start pushing, that is all kind of still tangentially tied to all of this, that I don't think enough people are talking about yet, because this is something that I have discovered after digging through this USAID stuff that is, again, pushing us into wars everywhere. Because not only are we pushing unpopular ideas, using our money and forcing countries to espouse those ideas to be able to receive the money. Here's another little interesting secret. Up until about 5 minutes ago, everybody in the world thought that Spooky Dude and Spawn of Spooky Dude were using their own money to destabilize our country. Guess what? They're not. They're using ours. They're getting access. They were getting access to the USAID slush fund by putting money into the right pockets. So your money, my money, has been being used to destroy the country from the inside out. Do you want to know why they're all freaking out right now? It's because every single aspect of their grift is being magnified in front of the American people right now. And enough people are starting to wake up that they're finally being able to see it.
Well,
And
and also
again,
seeing
So happy.
when they're going out, kind of like, all right, when Patel got confirmed, that the Senate confirmed him. What, there was 5 Democrats out there kind of doing a little protest, and they had nobody else there because they don't have the money to hire the actors anymore.
They look
Still do to a point. They just
they
didn't
look like
win.
the 5 nerds that wanted to do a sit-in a high school cafeteria because they didn't like the food. They were the most pathetic groups of humans that you've ever seen, and it was amazing.
But there's been like 2 or 3 other times since then that the same thing's happened. It's like they can't afford the actors
So,
anymore.
the crisis actors are gone. One of the things that Rick brought up too, that with USAID, and I mentioned this on my show, but I don't think it gets mentioned enough. One of the aspects of USAID that they were using is pushing the transgender movement in other countries as a destabilizing effect on those nations. That is confirmed with what USAID, we know through USAID. It is the exact same thing that they were doing in this fucking country.
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing how people will look at that and be like, I can't believe they'll do that overseas. Like, they do that overseas. They did a drag show in Austin. Like, this shit's been going on here. We're to the point in this country that we've lost our mind so much that we're lopping parts off of teenage children forever changing who they are. They were doing it overseas. They were doing it here. And like Rick, when he was talking about Spooky Dude there, George Soros. Soros has been directing, in my opinion, a lot of where that USAID money goes.
Oh, and it went directly to him. There's no doubt that it went to him.
And even the stuff that didn't go directly to him, he had influence over where and how it was spent. Remember, he has been caught trying to destabilize finances in countries before, and that is a proven fact. That's not hyperbole.
He crashed the UK pound single-handedly.
Yep.
Well, so I just want to point something out. Up until he started doing it in the Western world, it wasn't that he was caught. We knew about it. We wanted him to do it. He's part of what we use to soften up the Eastern Bloc. He's part of the reason communism eventually fell. But the problem is, once communism eventually fell, he stopped making all his money, and he wasn't being called on as much. So he started plying his trade to the Western world. But it's partly because he's been asked to. Here's the deep dark secret of all of this. And I'm not trying to Bigfoot anybody. I'll be done in like 2 minutes. But I'm just saying, here's the deep dark secret of all of this. The general consensus after World War II was that we were going to take all the third world countries, move them into second world status, and then eventually move all the second world countries into first world status. And then we were going to decide who the uniform ruler was going to be. It didn't ever work because there was too much infighting. So they decided through, I don't remember what it was called before, but now it's Agenda 2030. I think it was Agenda 2021.
21. Yes, correct.
Yeah, before that. But they decided when they put that together that the easiest way to do it was to start destabilizing the first world, because the first world was what was propping everything else up. So if they could destabilize the first world, that means the group of people that, by the way, while they were trying to make sure that there were less people so they could centralize everything a lot easier, there would be an established group of people that would rise up, fix everything, clean it up, and run it the way they wanted to. So that's what all of this has been about, and this is what they've been trying to hide. And that's why, even though I'm not a very big account still, and I'm doing this from a molehill, every time they start yelling about Project 2025, the first thing I ask them about is, can you tell me about Agenda 2030, please?
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I want to welcome everybody to the show. Thanks for being here. 146 folks watching live, and welcome to Earl Big E Jackson. Thanks for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. He is Mission Ready Men. And speaking of men, I want to play this. Manly men. I want to play this. When you guys want to interject something, just let me know. This is 11 minutes. You know, the whole thing went an hour and a half at least. I did not watch all of it. But the setup to this was such that what the American media maggots tell you is the reverse. Oh, Zelensky was trapped. He was ambushed. Bull fucking shit.
On the deal. That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough. for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough.
Hey, doesn't this kind of remind you guys of the kid sitting in the principal's office?
You're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Sorry, what was that, Rick?
I was going to say that's exactly what I thought of today. Is holy shit, this reminds me of when I got called to the principal.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't think it was possible, but it actually looks like Zelensky's getting physically smaller as this speech goes. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I would like to point out his new nickname is Majetsky.
Majetsky. If you look at him next to Trump, it just looks like this. I mean,
it looks like the kid in the principal's office.
Hey, I would respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin.
Okay, when you guys heard this, the first thing you were thinking is, here's a guy that supports his president right here, right now.
Yeah.
And then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
And also, intentional Alzheimer's. I call it historical Alzheimer's in terms of Crimea, Putin, Obama. Nothing happened. No one cared.
Yep.
Can I ask you?
Well, he does point that out. Zelensky does at one point. He actually starts complaining about how when Obama let him walk in, nobody did anything, and that's when Trump was like, "Yeah, but I'm not him."
Yeah, that's coming.
Okay, so he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014,
my time,
2022, what the situation?
I'm sorry, when you guys said something, what was that?
No, we were just laughing, and I said, "Yeah, that was before my time, yo."
Yeah.
I wasn't here. People have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
And hold up one second.
What problems we have?
1 second, busy.
Sure.
You know, one of the things that I think gets vastly overlooked is how little the Biden administration did to stop this war.
Correct.
We brought up Obama with Crimea, and you know we talked about. I remember we were on the air. You know, it was back with Sackheads when the invasion of Crimea happened. All you saw from Biden and Biden's administration in regards to Ukraine and the war is give them more money, give them more guns. I'm going to make a quick train trip in. I'm going to send Anthony Blinken, which always reminds me of Men in Tights, Abe Blinken, but and Blinken in a couple times, and that's it. And here's the reason why. They knew, Russia knew, and Biden administration knew that Biden would not have the stones to do what needed to be done to end the war. Biden knew that, so he was never going to try it. Putin knew that, so he was never going to back down. But
that's why Putin did it in the first place.
Exactly, E. Exactly, E.
Well,
You remember how quickly the troops started to mount on the border when Biden got into office, and Biden said, "Oh, it's just an exercise. They'd never do it. They'll never go into the Ukraine. There's no way they're going to do it in the Ukraine." And then they went in the Ukraine. He had to go out there and literally say, "Oh shit, I was wrong." When the entire world was saying that he was going to invade, and we did not one thing to stop it.
Well, the big clue was lining up all the troops, all the tanks, all the material on the border. And you can't look at that. A 5-year-old could tell you, gee, I think something important is brewing. Maybe we ought to take a peek at that.
Well,
Maybe
even the press knew.
Inquire.
Even the press knew, because remember, they asked him during the buildup. So if this happens, what would your response look like? Well, our response would depend on the size of the...
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Could you imagine if this had happened in 2017, 2018, 2019, and the press asked Trump, what are you going to do if he does do this? And Trump's answer was, it would depend on the size of the incursion. They would be shouting Russian puppet from the fucking rooftops. And they're doing it today. And
they're doing it now.
You just heard him in the clip. I'm not on your side. I'm not on Putin's side. I'm on the world's side, and I'm on America's side, and I want peace.
Let's stop the troops from getting killed. He said that when he was en route to the helicopter, when I said, he's wearing his mega hat and he's talking about Tim Cook, blah, blah, blah. $500 billion. You know why. All he said and all he's been saying continuously is, let's stop people from getting killed. Hey, you know what? Let's have a ceasefire. Zelensky wasn't even interested in a ceasefire. As in, really? You really don't give a shit about your troops? Because if that didn't scream, I couldn't care less, I don't know what was or would.
Give a shit about them. He just cares about the money.
Yep, that's it. He just wants money. That's all he wants is money.
Exactly.
And as soon as there's a plan in place for the money train to stop, he's not going to be happy.
Well, and JD even said that essentially, like, hey, you're fighting with conscripts. You're not even fighting with your regular military anymore. You're down to nothing, which we all know is true. Yeah. If it wasn't for American dollars and American equipment, this war would have been over a long time ago, and it wouldn't have gone the way that the Democrats had hoped. And this is what happens when you have lousy foreign policy and you are a weak nation and you have weak leaders, is bad people do bad things when they want to because there's no consequence. Look at all the dirty oil that Russia was selling. Our embargoes did nothing. It doesn't matter who we slapped what on. It did nothing really to the Russian economy. It slowed it a little bit here and there. But then they figured out how to sell dirty oil on the market, so the money came right back.
Yeah, and who bought it?
Giving them a shitload of money.
Who bought that oil? Germany.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And the UN representative that I played the other night for Germany, essentially saying, hey, we need to stop being behind the 8 ball and we need to do what Trump's doing, was amazing. I do have a serious question for the panel, and I want you guys to go around the horn and answer this. Do you think, and this is, I think yes, and I hope so. Do you think Trump raised all the urinals in the White House today by 6 inches?
Absolutely.
If he didn't, he should have.
Man.
So back to how much smaller Zelensky looked in the room. The one thing that I thought of today, when they're standing outside and they're talking to each other, was Paul Simon and Chevy Chase.
Sorry,
all I'm gonna say.
Nice.
I have a good one on at the top of my Twitter feed too. That's hilarious.
There has been so many great memes, but it's just been gold. I mean, if nothing else, the entire day was worth it for the gold. But bringing up JD, and I know we talked about JD early, and I think it still shows. Look, the guy's no nonsense. He ran a business. He knows how to negotiate deals, etc. He was also a Marine, so he's not afraid of much. He's incredibly intelligent and articulate. And I will tell you that we touched on this a little. I don't think Zelenskyy was ready for a 1-2 punch like he got.
No.
I don't think he was prepared for it. I don't think he saw it coming. And then when all of a sudden, because you even saw Zelenskyy kind of get taken aback when JD started to interject, like, whoa, JD, right? That's what are you doing? I'm not expecting this from you. And it's unbelievable.
Had he met JD Vance before?
I believe so.
Had they met in person before?
Oh,
yeah. They met in Munich.
Munich. That's right.
Recently, a week
okay.
ago.
Yeah.
That's when so this deal was originally supposed to be signed 3 weeks ago. He backed out then. He was supposed to sign it last week in Munich, and he met with Rubio and Vance and still backed out. And that's when they set everything up at the White House.
But again, I go back to, how can you be that daft? How can you be that fucking thick? Do you not have eyes? How can you not read the room? How can you not read the world landscape at this point?
Spoiled
his head
child. Sorry,
the Democrats spoiled him for the past 4 years, and I don't think he's that bright.
Well, so I
think right before the Democrats filled his head with like sugar plums and all that, telling him this is what you do, and Trump's going to fall over. Democrats have done it time and time again. They think they're smarter, and they're not.
And Zelenskyy isn't smart enough to be able to read the room like that.
Yeah.
Well, the Democrats' premise has been wrong the entire time. They think that Donald Trump is in Putin's pocket because he respects power and authority. Donald Trump is not in Putin's pocket. Donald Trump has never been in Putin's pocket. And again,
I don't think they believe that. I think that's just their talking.
I don't think a lot of them believe it. I think a handful do, because they've convinced themselves that that's the truth. But the thing that I would like to point out is the difference between the two statements between Joe Biden when this was first starting, and it depends on the size of the incursion, and then today when Donald Trump looked plainly at Zelenskyy and said, "Look, I'm not on either of your sides. I want peace. I want people to stop dying, and I'm on the American people's side." And one of the things that drives me the most crazy, because this has been all over my feed today, is, well, I guess we shouldn't have convinced Ukraine to get rid of their nuclear missiles if we weren't going to support them. That was never supposed to be indefinitely. We convinced them to get rid of their nuclear weapons, and then we helped them build up their military enough where they were supposed to be self-sustaining. It's Obama's fault that it all fell apart. Because if you remember, just a few short months, a couple of years before the whole, Crimea incident, there was somebody that said that was going to happen in the middle of a debate. And Barack Obama said, hey, the 1980s called, they want their foreign policy.
Foreign policy back.
100%, yes. It was the laugh line that went around the world 14 times. And just, 24 months later, you've got fucking... what was the governor's name in Alaska that was Romney's running mate? I blocked her name from memory.
Palin.
Yeah. Palin. You've got her. And you've got her with the line that she said that once he takes Crimea, Ukraine will be next. And sure enough.
And Russian policy was a big question, because remember they jumped all over her when she said, "Yeah, I can see Russia from my front porch." And she was saying that tongue in cheek, and they ran with that as being gospel. Yeah. The other question that this brings up, and I know somebody mentioned Susan Rice earlier on X, how many violations of the Logan Act transpired while Zelenskyy visited this time? That's a question I want an honest answer to.
Probably
How many? Because you can't tell me that all these Democrats, I want to know who he met with and what they told him was going to happen and what they made promises for and represented our government without the authority to do so.
That's a bigger question. You know that he met with Lindsey Graham for once. I'm going to play that video. Anybody else they had who was talking?
I did. Well, mine's just real quick. My big question is, how did that reset button go?
Yeah.
not well.
That easy button, red
No, it
reset.
went great. We sold all of our uranium to Russia. That's how good that went.
Yeah, no, we didn't sell it. They stole it.
Well,
Yeah.
we gave it away. They didn't even steal it. Hill Dog gave it away.
But I mean, I lost my point now, so keep going. There was a point I was going to make, and I lost it. It may come back in a minute.
Well, let's keep going with this and see what transpires.
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had?
Okay, Paul Ekman. I studied at the feet of Paul Ekman, and Paul Ekman says, look for nonverbal cues, not singular, but in a stream, nonverbal cues. So isn't Zelensky screaming nonverbal cues?
Oh,
Look at this. The legs get a little closer, the arms are crossed, and up here, look at the frown, look at the eyes. Look at the furrowed brow in there. He's getting pushback that he had not anticipated. And again, I say, how could you not see this?
Right.
He fully expected to be able to walk into this room, and because it's worked before, since Biden apparently trained him, and he responded to the training and thinks that he's going to turn around and train us. That shit ain't going to fly.
Problems.
He thought there was going to be handshaking and checks given out. That's what he thought was going to happen.
Yeah, sure. I'm
Well,
here.
also,
Here's
when you
my
look at-
hand. Fill it.
Yep.
What made him think that? With everything that's going on right now, what
Training.
made him think that was going to be
The
that
Democrats.
was going to transpire?
Because
today?
he was told he was going to be the princess forever. Here's the thing. We all know Russia. We all know Putin's a piece of shit, right? The entire world knows Putin's no good. He's a piece of garbage. He's a piece of filth. I do not respect him. I do not trust him, etc. The trade-off to that is they have turned Zelensky into this anti-Putin sweetheart, like he's fighting the man all by himself, and they're trying to turn his fight, Ukraine's fight against Russia, they're trying to just relate it to our Cold War against Russia back in the day. They're trying to make that connection, and I'm not saying Putin's not a huge communist at heart, and that's not his ultimate goal, is to get the band back together. Yes, it is, but what they've done with Zelensky is they've turned him into the belle of the ball, this pretty little thing who used to be a comedian, who used to do drag routines, that's now leading this war, which is why, look at everything with him as an act. Why do you think he's still wearing this military style garb when he's meeting in the White House?
Dude,
with
you're not Castro.
It's image. It's all image. He was created to be the person that he is. And once the war started, he was groomed. I mean, look, this guy needs to wear khakis like I need to buy hair gel. Okay. It is not, he's not on the front lines. Yeah, when he goes out and he visits the troops, okay, I understand that. But when he's in his office in Kiev, he does not, now polo shirt and khakis, so he doesn't, if he's doing that whole, I don't want to seem above the people, so I'm going to dress casual because we're at war, I can respect that. But to wear this pseudo paramilitary style garb all the time, he's playing a part. He's playing a role. That's all he is.
Well, the other thing
I love the question that the reporter asked him: how come you're not wearing a suit? You're in the Oval Office. How come you're not wearing a suit? I thought that was, I loved it.
Well, he's like you said, he's making a statement. But the other thing, shit. Let's continue. I lost my train of thought. Damn it! It derailed.
I wonder if the Democrats
derailed track one.
If they set Zelensky up so that they can have Trump, so they have a new narrative of, look at this, they're bullies, because I've been hearing that all day. Oh, they jumped him, they purposely did this, they're bullies. Now they got a new talking point and sacrifice Zelensky.
Well, the other part of that,
on that point, and I brought this up before, I'm of the mind that they did kind of coordinate this because I don't know if you've seen it, but there's people in Ukraine that are trying to impeach Zelensky. And so my thought when I heard that was, did they have a heads up that this might happen if certain things happen, and did they try to bait him into behaving that way?
I think that they were smart enough to see what was coming, and they took a moment of opportunity.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, Trump and J.D. Vance knew what they were going to get into this meeting and what they wanted out of this meeting. Obviously, that was the whole plan.
Well, the other thing that I was going to mention, and it's up on the screen right now, Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky called for an emergency session of Ukraine's parliament to initiate impeachment against Zelensky, because I think this guy's right. Dubinsky is correct. What is Zelensky actually doing for the people of Ukraine right now, except insisting that they continue to be fodder? If you're not even going to consider a ceasefire at this point. And the other thing I wanted to make, the other point that finally came back into my stupid brainhousing group, is that in terms of Russia and Trump has to atone every hour on the hour just for the American media maggots that, I hate Putin. Putin, if he doesn't atone every day, every hour, then he's Putin's puppet. That's just so beyond the pale, so massively ridiculous. So,
well, I don't understand how anyone with two firing neurons can actually say, given everything that we've seen over both presidencies, over both terms, how anyone can possibly say that Trump is Putin's puppet. Nothing that he's done with regard to Russia and Putin says to anyone, like I said, with two firing neurons, that he's Putin's puppet. He's countered Putin at every chance he could possibly get.
That happened at the beginning. That happened at the beginning of his presidency. You remember 35 seconds into 45, what he did is he sent cruise missiles into Syria, which ended up killing Syrians and also killed Russian engineers and consultants there that were in Syria.
That were Wagner Group.
Yeah.
I do want to push back on Earl a little bit. I do think that Trump capitulated quite a bit to Putin because he ate a potato once.
Yeah.
And I think that's a serious moment to think about. Well, and the other thing too is
potato water.
Yeah, potato water. They tried to go at Trump with Russia right away. Remember that. That was their predicate for impeachment before he was even sworn.
Well, even go before that, Sean. I don't mean to cut you off. Yeah, it's going to go before that because they knew Hillary's weak point was Russia, so they had to attack Trump on Russia. And that's how this all started.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%, Joe. That is balls accurate. No, I think you're dead on.
I have an even sinister take on this. Even more sinister take. Okay. So what if I told you the plan was for Trump to lose, and then they were going to use all this Russian collusion shit to basically run the entire family either out of the country or have them shot against a wall?
Nothing would shock me.
No. Yeah, at this point,
what we're finding out of USAID, what we're finding out of Doge, we know it's come out that Comey had an investigation on General
Flynn.
Huh?
Yeah. General Flynn.
Yeah, Flynn. Where they were trying to honeypot him and they were trying to get him essentially locked up. They were going to do anything and everything.
That was completely off the books, which is shady as hell.
Oh, yeah, but I mean,
sorry, go ahead, John.
All the other stuff. They bugged Trump's office. I will tell you that they were trying. I don't think we know now, even though we can look back a little bit, history will show us that winning in 2016 will be what saved the United States of America, because the power grab they were trying to go for with Hillary would have changed us systematically and as a nation forever, to the point that I don't know if we ever could have come back.
What was she pushing? What was she pushing during that run? You know, well, I forget the name of it, but it was Canada, United States, and Mexico turning into like the European Union.
Yep.
Well, the trajectory.
I hate to go that
I
route,
forgot
but
about
it
that.
was a push for a one world government.
TP.
Well, the trajectory for all of this was started a long time ago because let's not forget that Bill Clinton was really pissed off when the Republicans retook the House and the Senate for the first time in a very long time. And so he played nice, and it pissed a lot of the people in his party off. But that's because I think a plan had already been hatched. Because let's not forget when those elections happened, and let's not forget that there was this little group founded in 1961 by an executive order that very administration codified into law in 1998. And I think that's when they started hatching the plan to turn that into their own little perpetual money machine. And the Cold War was pretty much already over, but they had seen what it was able to do, and they had seen how much of an influence they were able to have. And they said, if we start putting levers in the right places, then we can start changing the world in the way that we want it to be changed. And
Let's
we can
do this.
It all runs in the background.
I'm getting sent messages from people that are in the chat room that their legs are crossed and they need to go cock a pee-pee. So why don't we do that? Why don't we take a break for about a couple of minutes or so, and then we will all be right back. Thanks to the 300 plus people, 307 people that I'm looking at right now that are watching live. This is astounding. Thank you all. We'll be right back.
It's because I'm here.
Of course.
Oh,
And welcome back. I'm BZ. You're in the Saloon, Jersey Joe, SHAUN LEWIS, Rowdy Rick, Big E, all here to talk about what happened today and how crazy and zany all of this stuff was. And of course, I'm going to have a question at the very end for everybody. Let's go back to the video.
Well, hang on. Before you do that, I have a question.
Sure.
How do you unlock the special features in the electric Winkle chamber? I was kind of
all it takes is a quarter. First, push the button that says vibrating magic fingers.
All right.
And then the rest of it, and the other thing is the toilet is kind of wonky, so make sure you jiggle the handle a little bit.
The only issue, Rick, that scared me away from it is all of the fingernails that I saw on the vibrating hand had some sort of burns on the fingernails. So I opted out. You do what you want to do.
It's been a minute. I'm not going to complain.
Okay. Are we talking TMI, or we could talk video?
Your military, and do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is prime?
Boom. When he had all this time to do it before, why do it now? Why do it in the public unless you're attempting to make a point, or you're stupid?
I love Zelensky's oh fuck face right now.
Yeah. And again, this is
reminds me of a German Shepherd head cock.
Oh, yeah, that's the CPL look. That's what I call the CPL, the canine puzzlement look. How many times have you looked at your dog and your dog goes, and that's exactly what, again, folded arms, leg moved back, one leg forward, and not sitting, not occupying the center of the chair, but seeking the arm here for comfort, the tilt of the head, and again, the little furrowed brow right here. Principal,
if he sat in the chair regularly, his
vice
feet
principal, student. I didn't do it.
If he sat in the chair regularly, his feet wouldn't touch the ground and they'd be swinging. So he has to sit that far forward.
Okay.
In his defense.
In his defense, yeah, that deserves that. Okay. All right. Producer, hit it.
Trying to prevent the destruction of your country.
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems.
Okay, let me stop and ask everybody right now. Did Zelensky, we know, speaks pretty good English. Did he make a mistake, a tactical error, by not having a translator or not going through a translator? Bueller?
No. He thought he didn't think, well, did he make a tactical mistake? Yes, but because he didn't think this was coming. He thought it was going to be a walk in the park.
But see, my point is, if you use a translator, the other thing that you can do is, if you're smart enough to use this as a tactic, is that amount of time gives you enough time to process what should be a better answer.
Yes.
Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel
We have nice ocean
in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You
Don't
will not
stop
feel
for a
it worse.
second. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to
Easy,
solve
can you
a
stop for a
problem.
second?
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling.
Jersey Joe.
What the fuck does us having a nice ocean have to do with all this?
I kind of felt like that was like the Russian version of the Godfather line. Got a nice ocean there. Be ashamed if something happened to it.
I agree, Joe. I think the point he's trying to make, which is absolutely hysterical, because Russia cannot even overtake a small country like Ukraine right now. And he's saying, you have nice ocean. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. When what he's trying to say is, you're next. Once Russia's done with us, they're coming. Look, Russia ain't touching us. We know it. We absolutely know it. They had to call North Korea for backup. That would be like me calling a three-legged dog to help me in a fight that I can't win.
And the Norks are getting killed.
Oh, they're getting smoked. the ones that aren't spending their entire time on the phone watching internet porn because they can't believe it exists. Yes, that report was out there. That actually happened.
Yeah,
they couldn't get them to go and fight because they got their hands on phones and they saw boobies for the first time that weren't small.
Well, I'm going to tell you this: my new pickup line. Walk up to one. You got a nice lake there.
Real nice ocean there.
Yeah.
I'd try that in the bar and see how it works out. I'll report back with a black eye.
What a shame.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very
You
strong.
will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position.
What
You've
influence?
allowed yourself-
What influence are we going to feel? What influence are we going to feel? What's the Ukrainian government going to come after us? Stick embargoes on us? What the fuck influence is he even talking about? And this is how I forget which one of us said this earlier. This is how you know he is a trained SEAL, is because it was like Biden. Once you start getting to an in-depth conversation and once you get down to brass tacks, he can't make sense. He talked about the ocean and how
they blew his ego up, and he thinks he's more powerful than he actually is.
So, just for 1 second, back to the whole, they thought he was going to be Princess Forever. BZ, did you at least manage to sell the guy a couple of tiaras? Come on, tell me you've at least made some money off of this one.
I have not. I am a complete nonprofit, and the fucker wouldn't even buy my hat.
That's all the more reason he shouldn't get the money.
No kidding, for God's sake.
However, if he did get the money and bought your hat, I would have to accuse you of being involved in the money laundering.
I've been waiting all night to say this. Moose and squirrel.
Moose
and squirrel. Who's involved, Natasha? Moose and squirrel.
To be in a very bad position.
I'm sorry, what was that, Rick?
No, I was just going to say it couldn't be money laundering because if you'd have bought the hat, you wouldn't even have washed it first.
And he's absolutely right
From
about
the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having.
Now, can you imagine
I played cards.
Yeah. And how many times have you ever seen the leader of the free world slap a motherfucker in public?
And look at the look on his face right now.
Oh, yeah.
That is absolutely hilarious.
And can you imagine?
He is beat down.
You know what this makes Trump though, right? The chief of the Slapaho tribe.
Slapdad.
That's true. That's true. I would love at this point to have had a camera up on that mantle, turned around and facing and watching the American media maggots and what's happening with their jaws are dropping and hitting the floor.
They all look like Zelensky does right now.
Yeah, I'd love to,
you know
because these folks are watching. Wait, this shit.
Have
is
you seen?
playing out right
Have
in
you
front
seen
of my
the
face.
footage of the Ukrainian ambassador?
To the UN. Yeah, who's just rubbing her eyes.
Like rubbing her eyes, got her head in her
Hilarious.
She seriously
She couldn't
looked
believe what was happening.
She
And I
seriously
thought that
looked
was
like,
hilarious.
she looks like her freshman son in a spelling bee just spelled cat with a K. That's the look she had on her face. Like, he's going to get a job with a name on his shirt for the rest of his life.
But I'll tell you what, after seeing his face, it's broken my heart. And now I think we should send Boots over there. But I'm going to volunteer like Harry Sisson, the Crafton brothers.
First.
The Baldwins.
Anybody that wants to go fight for Ukraine, go right ahead. Nobody's stopping you. But I do have one question. Have you guys seen the still shot of that they're showing with Marco Rubio and JD Vance?
Oh yeah,
yes,
he has that.
So yeah, that was an amazing moment because this is two brothers looking at the same event with entirely different takes. One of them being the guy on the right in the frame, Rubio, is looking at this like, oh shit, Dad's about to go off. JD Vance, on the other hand, oh shit, Dad's about to go off.
I think Rubio's looking at it going, this motherfucker just made me look like an ass.
Yeah.
I thought this deal was done, and this son of a bitch just double-crossed me.
That's exactly what that was. That's exactly what that was.
Absolutely detonated all the work that Marco Rubio had done up to this point. I would guess a sustained 3+ weeks of what I would expect negotiation in front and behind the scenes before this guy even got into the White House.
And in that deal, as we've spoken before, in that deal was a slam dunk protection against Russia because we were going to have a large amount of contractors in there, and Putin knew and would know that if he fought around and any of our people got hurt, he was going to take it to the face.
Well, you don't think with all that money being involved in at that point, we're not going to have some kind of security contingency over there to protect
Well, that's exactly it. They would have had a lot of the private security contractors that we use in all the wars anymore, basically babysitting, because that would have freed up everybody's hands. There would have been no actual military boots on the ground. It would have circumvented all the NATO bullshit. And I guarantee you that was part of the deal. And I made that point today. The thing that nobody's thinking about is when Donald Trump proposed this deal, yes, he was hoping that we were going to start being able to recoup some of the costs that we have put into trying to keep Ukraine safe. But at the same time, he was also trying to find a way to be able to keep Ukraine safe without getting them into NATO and automatically triggering World War III. Because while everybody's screaming that we aren't keeping our word to Ukraine, when Joe Biden proposed Ukraine entering NATO, he broke his word to Russia. Because we promised them.
That's true.
We promised them that none of their border states.
No border states are going to go on to NATO. Finland was the last one to really piss them off. I also want to show everybody this. You've probably seen it before. Okay, some of it's conciliatory, at least in terms of Trump. We had a meaningful meeting. Much was learned. It's amazing what comes out through emotion. And I have determined Zelensky's not ready for peace if America's involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. This is the clue right here. I don't want advantage. I want peace. I want a ceasefire. If you don't even want or respect or are seeking after a ceasefire and peace for your own people, for your soldiers, what the hell are you here for? He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. Oh, hell yeah. Who in the American media maggots would say that everyone who went into another capital, a foreign capital, and did the same thing, an American, to somebody else in their house and slapped their own face, everyone, the American media maggots, would be in an uproar. He can come back when he's ready for peace. Bingo.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, can I ask a question? And I mean, everybody can kind of answer at once if they want, or you can go around because it's a yes or no, sort of, kind of. So my question is, if someone came into your home and spoke to you in the way that Zelensky spoke to President Trump and J.D. Vance, what would you do? Because I, for one, would feed them their teeth and then show them the door.
Well, and that's our house. People forget that about the White House. That's our house.
That's the people's house.
Yep.
Jersey Joe.
That's spot on. I mean, when was the last time we had a president actually stand up like he just did? I don't think we ever had a president do something like that.
And that's why the last standing Warhawk fell in line, because he's like, oh shit, this guy's not kidding.
That's a delicious video. Big E, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was glorious to watch. And it's when someone comes into your house and disrespects you like that, if there's no violence involved, like, because it's actually happened to me and my wife and I and those other people are no longer really on speaking terms. Unfortunately, we have to see them every now and then. But yeah, there's no, once you get disrespected like that in your own home, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah,
he'll come back to conduct business, but that relationship is done. And it was already in tatters anyway, but it's beyond repair at this point. And the only thing that's going to solve it is a peace deal. Other than that, Zelensky is done.
Well, efficacy. If you're going to be efficient, that's fine. What does every first line supervisor, and what's the first thing that's taught in ambassadorial school? What's the first thing you learn? Praise in public, reprimand in private. And you're a stupid motherfucker if you don't get the basics. So they were saying that Trump doesn't know how to be an ambassador. Well, you don't walk into somebody else's house, and just as Trump indicated, and we all agreed upon right here, you don't walk into someone's house and slap them and then demand money and troops.
Well, that's just it. He was coming in the house begging him for money, and then he tried to slap him. I'm like, so, and this is the other thing, because everybody's like, I can't believe Donald Trump let this play out in front of the press. Let me remind you, this is the deal that was already supposed to have been made 3 times. So this was Donald Trump finally showing the American people everything that they have put up with from Majetsky from day one since he's been back in office, because they've been trying to make this deal for 3 fucking weeks. He's only been in office for a little over a month.
The arrogance was off the charts.
Zelensky walked in and dropped his pants and took a shit in the middle of the Oval Office, and the liberals want us to sit back and take it.
Yeah, may as well.
And that was going to be my point. Is imagine if Vance and Trump just let him get away with that and didn't push back at all. What would the American propaganda be saying about that? They would be saying that Trump got steamrolled in his own office. It was going to be a lose-lose for Trump no matter what. So this way, he shows Zelensky who's really boss, and it's not him. And the American propaganda is gonna beat up on him regardless.
That's just it. It's a lose-lose with him for the media. But to take the analogy a step further, and I apologize for this in advance, they didn't just expect Trump to take it as he shat on the floor. They wanted him to clean it up with his tongue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that was the demand. And the amazing thing is Zelensky has become the panhandler who gets aggressive when you say no. When he's like, "Hey, you got $1?" and we're like,
That's
"No."
true.
He's like, "You got $1? I know you got $1. I just saw you come out of the store." Like, "Nah, bro, I didn't get no money for you." Fucking dude, it's just a fucking $1, and he's all up in your face. That's what that's exactly what he was doing. The problem is he got slapped for doing it.
The drug addict that goes begging for money.
Sean, it sounds like you've had experience with that before.
Once or twice.
He's been on both sides of that equation, but I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, and probably
you got a report from Reuters that came out today.
Oh, hang on. Since you might be mentioning that, are you talking about this?
No.
Oh, well, let's go here right now since I was stupid enough and big-footed myself and put it up there. So
I hadn't seen that yet, so that's kind of amazing, actually. So
that's a great thing. The State Department decided that as a result of what happened today, they're going to terminate United States support of Ukraine energy grid restoration. So you guys can be smug and say you had a win in the dark.
But well, so this
is just an example of Trump holding all the cards.
Yep.
Zelensky had no leverage. He has no leverage whatsoever, and to come in there and act like that, this just proves that he was way out of his depth. Way out of his depth.
Can I remind everybody of something? Because this brought something else back to my memory when you pulled that up. I would like to remind everybody who's listening that the man who just tried to Bigfoot the president of the United States in his own home and in our house seems to forget that we have been paying his country's retirement plans.
Yes.
Yes.
Fuck that guy.
I had forgotten.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Interesting.
We're also paying for all of their public services, the firefighting, the policing, their water services, the electricity maintenance, the road maintenance. We're paying for all of that.
And U.S. aid is funding all the media in Ukraine. USAID, us, our hard-earned American taxpayer dollars, are getting shipped overseas for the Ukrainian media. Now, Jersey Joe just wanted me to add something to the stage. And explain this or point this out, if you would, Jersey Joe.
I'm going to put it in my terms. It looks like he pissed off Trump, and now he's going to have Doge do a colonoscopy on fraud and waste of the money in Ukraine. And I don't think there's going to be any anesthesia with this colonoscopy.
Oh, no. As I said in the TikTok video I put up today, fuck around and find out. And that's exactly what little Zelensky's doing right now.
Can I okify this for everybody just for a second?
Okify away, sir.
Trump's going corn hunting.
Did you say cornhole?
No, he's going corn hunting.
Cornholio.
I am Cornholio. I need teepee for my bunghole.
Jesus. And to think that somebody thought that was a great name for a game. Good Lord. What folks? What were you thinking?
Not playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
work.
millions of people.
You think
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people
Facts.
because you're getting pissed off making a scene in our house, the people's house.
Gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
And what
There's the petulance right there.
Yeah.
However, have you noticed it's changed? Look at the Paul Ekman body language. If you guys haven't, pick up a book by Paul Ekman and you'll start to be able to read people. Arms up here, defensive? No. Down here, defeated. You see the immediate difference, and yeah, scowl, but he's not meeting. There is no eye contact. Look at the eye contact right here. Bzzz, laser beams, not looking anywhere, like the dog that got caught shitting on the carpet and looks away.
I think BZ and I have read some of the same books because this is when it really started giving principal office vibes to me is right here.
Yeah. The pointing of the finger. I had, God, where is that? Here we go.
And then when he pushed
Pointing
him,
of the finger.
yeah.
Jesus. The ceremonial pointing of the finger. Oh,
There wasn't enough cocaine in the world to help Zelensky through this meeting.
no, not at all.
What you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
Now, I think right here, when Trump says that, Trump knows, yeah, you're disrespecting me, but I think he means it because he takes it personally when you disrespect not just him, just like he said, when they're throwing shit at me, yeah, they're throwing it at me and I'm a big boy and I can take it, but they're really throwing it at you. When you're disrespecting Trump, you're really disrespecting the people of the United States of America in their fucking house.
That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
That was
beautiful.
Oh,
that was beautiful.
Yeah. Zing.
No, in this entire meeting, you said thank you.
Today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October.
Oh, you're not supposed to bring this shit up. Oh, history? Oh my God. JD Vance giving this bullshit a history lesson. Oh God.
October, offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your.
What are you talking about?
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly.
Yeah, you want to hear loud? Here it comes.
Trump.
Yeah.
Trump, I don't think he got shot and he didn't look pissed off like this.
No,
dude, I've never seen Trump this mad.
No, and a lot of
people that know him, and I've never seen him this mad.
Yeah, exactly. People that were saying, who was it, Dana Perino or somebody else on another show said, normally he's especially post-assassination attempt, he's been really mellow and really his level. He's very conciliatory is not the proper word, but he's been much more mellow and measured. Perhaps measured is the best word since then. Oh, this ain't measured.
Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
Bada bing, bada boom.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks.
You haven't been alone.
Wait. They've been alone.
Say that again.
They've been alone.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Beginning.
Yeah, he said that several times, but yeah, it was very prominent there.
What about all that money we've given them?
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming.
Trump's. That's coming.
Yeah, here we go.
You threw this stupid president $350 billion. We gave.
And about this time. Yeah, you want to talk about money? We'll talk about money.
Well, your military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military. If you didn't have our military equipment,
Touch. Did you see that?
There's another one. There's another one coming.
That
too.
was huge because that's him basically.
You don't do that in negotiations unless you have so pissed off the other party. And at that point, let me see if I can back this up appropriately.
Brave, but they had to use our military. If you didn't have
Touch,
yeah,
right there.
Look at his face.
When you do that,
It's over.
you're not coming back.
Yeah.
I'm feeling left out, so I have one of these too.
Thank you. But when you've denigrated yourself and the entire tete-a-tete between the two has devolved to this point, there's no resurrecting this.
Our military equipment. If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over.
Looking at his feet.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course.
Maybe less.
Thing to do like this.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of
Except
times.
that there are disagreements.
okay, you're not in Europe right now. You're in the people's house. And if you're attempting a negotiation in public, then a thank you when you are the requestor. You should be here on bended knee. You can't demand money. Well, yes, you can because Biden trained you to demand money.
Right.
But
Yeah,
this
he's
is
used to
somebody
demanding money
else.
and getting it.
Yep.
And you can't continue with this. Either, as I said, this guy is a boob, or someone has been giving him the worst information and advice in the
Both
world.
things can be true.
Hey,
Yeah.
I mean,
BZ,
and please visit the KLRN radio store and buy the Embrace the Power of Van merch at your leisure. But yes, embrace the power of Van.
Hey,
He
BZ, can you share my screen for a second? Because
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see it. What do we got? There we go.
this
And
is
describe.
who was giving him the advice. Rumor has it the traders Anthony Blinken, Victoria Nuland, Susan Rice, and Anthony Vindman advised Zelensky to stand tall in his meeting.
Oh, God.
If that's
Well,
true, they're foreign agents.
First problem is Zelensky cannot stand tall. So
No.
that was terrible.
And
Ding.
you knew that was coming. But Blinken, Victoria Nuland, I can't say no. Very few people know about her and what a despicable individual she is, along with Vindman. Vindman, what a reprehensible rat.
Yeah, you
You
mean
would
the guy,
think they would
Oh,
learn
yeah,
their
he's a
lesson
traitor.
by
guy
now.
that was cooking up his own USAID scheme, and I mean, granted, we can't verify that he ever received the money, but he was sure trying to get some. Just saying.
And again, we go back to, and I will continue to play the video, but we have to go back to, I think as Sean indicated originally, go back to 2016. If Hillary Clinton had been elected, how much, not just how much, would any of this have been unearthed?
Well, hang on. We have to look at this from a different angle, because if Hillary Clinton had been elected, how much more would the Russian collusion narrative have worked? And that's what I've been trying to explain to everybody for the longest time. I honestly, because there's only one way this makes sense to me, and most people don't want to listen to me when I say this. When you have the husband of the woman who's planning to run for president call you and say, hey, you should run against my wife, I'm telling you, the fix was in, because at some point he was saying some of the weirdest shit. Like he's saying I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still vote for me. Those are things that you don't say if you're seriously trying to run for president. But at some point, and I don't know if it was because the numbers kept coming in and he realized people were still supporting him, or if at some point he started getting read in on some of this stuff once he won the nomination and he started reading between the lines and kind of started seeing what the plan was. But I'm telling you right now, if she had won in 2016, everything would be different. And this country wouldn't even be here right now. Because if Obama 3.0 had, or what would have been Obama 2.0, had happened when they expected it to, she would have been leaving office just last month, and we would probably be, I don't even know anymore. We would probably be, I mean, at this point, we might have actually been one of Canada's provinces on the way to being absorbed.
We could have been smoldering slag. Sean sent this to me, and everybody was mentioning it earlier. And thank you, Sean. This is fabulous. The reaction this is 12 seconds. So there's no audio per se. But everybody was mentioning the reaction of Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S., Oksana Makarova, during the heated exchange between Trump and Zelensky. Hey, let's watch.
Like, oh shit, what's going on? This is not what we were supposed to be doing today.
She even got a head shake in there.
Fire.
You don't want to ceasefire? I want to ceasefire because you get a ceasefire
He
fast.
told us it would be easy to get this done. He
And
was
we also forget that,
And there you go.
and everyone who's saying, oh, we should support Ukraine, we should support Ukraine. Remember in 2008 when Russia invaded Georgia and we did nothing about it whatsoever? Nothing.
We
We didn't
just
even call them out on it.
I mean, I think the most we might have gotten was a golf. I mean, I think we may have given somebody a golf clap I think that may have been about it.
Yeah, what I call a PGC, polite golf clap. And that's it. Sean, did you have something else that you wanted to put up?
No, I'm out.
What about that?
Nope. I was scrolling and
okay. Then I'm not taking that seriously. We're not taking that to Ass Pound Town, not tonight. In any event, let's continue with
what
that
night
video.
were we going to?
I think this whole video basically was a visit by Zelensky to Ass Pound Town.
And let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you really think it's good for the American people to see what's going on?
Here we go. Here's OMB, Orange Man Bad, who himself already got ass fucked by talking off screen, not in public, to Ukraine. This little guy over here, which led to articles of impeachment. So now he's going to make another point is, you want to see how he acts? You want to see what I've had to deal with? Here you go.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long.
Zelensky realized he just got played.
Yeah. Here's a perfect example of what I want you to see in public, and then I'm going to tell you about it.
You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on souls.
Again, speaking to Trump, no eye contact, zero eye contact.
Just listen. You're running low on soldiers.
And everybody knows, including J.D. Vance over on the far right, that is disrespectful. Especially in negotiations.
Don't play games with me, Mr. President.
In public. Moose and Squirtle.
It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire fast.
He's avoiding it completely.
Yep.
He's offering him, I'm here to back you with a ceasefire if you'll be man enough to accept it and keep the bodies off the floor. Will you do it? No.
Faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
And again, continue. Paul Ekman, look at the face. This is what you get from principal, student, who's not getting his point across. As a matter of fact, he's abjectly, terribly losing the argument.
That was with Obama.
Even when he leans in, look how he's leaning in. Is he looking at Trump? No, he's looking over here somewhere. He cannot meet the eyes yet of Trump when he's leaning in, using a hand to make a visual gesture. He's still not looking at the big dog in the room.
Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks.
Oh, damn the facts.
Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful because let me
go back. Let me go back.
The look on Trump's face right then was awesome.
Oh yeah, and I think I went back far enough. Watch the eyebrows. Watch the eyes in just a moment.
Trump gave javelins. You got to be more.
Arch. As if your child gave you that, the arched eyes over making a salient point, would you be a little upset?
And more than right now, he's looking at his ambassador with that "what the fuck is going on" look on his face because he's getting his arse handed to him in a tiny little doggy bag.
Like I used to just be able to walk into this room and walk out with bags of cash. What the fuck happened? And the answer is actually on my screen if BZ would share it at some point when he's ready.
Let's look up. Here we go.
There's
exactly.
Yep. And that's the message unreceived. That message went completely ignored and unreceived. He expected, and I just, you guys have explained it to me twice now. And I still am not grokking the concept of how you could walk into the White House and not understand the dynamics that are going on and what you're going to be subject to when you don't understand.
I mean, how could he
I don't get it either.
How could
really
he possibly have not known and understood that there has been an entire administration change? I mean, we didn't just win the White House. We kept the House and we won the Senate. And it's not like this was his first meeting with this team. Blinken went, I keep wanting to say Blinken, but that wasn't him. The Secretary of the Treasury met with him first 3 weeks ago. Was trying to get the deal cut, and he said no. And then it was Rubio and Vance 2 weeks ago. And that was when then everybody was like, we've got the deal, we've got it. And he pulled out. So he's been dealing with this group now for a month. And you're telling me that you are so disconnected from the situation that you haven't been able to understand that this isn't the same president anymore. This isn't the guy who basically was just propped up with toothpicks holding his eyes open while somebody else handed you the money when you walked into the Oval Office and you turned around and walked out and took your victory lap at home. Those days,
and it's not just that, but it's everything else that's been playing out in the media in terms of Doge and all the other things that Trump is doing that Biden never even considered doing. And so he, like you said, completely disconnected from reality, because it is a completely different world over the past 36 days or whatever it is. And to not even have the slightest inkling of that and go in there like you thought you were just going to get handed bags full of cash, to me it proves that he's an idiot and he's been getting terrible advice.
I mean, it just proves everything that Trump has said about him, because Trump has been telling everybody for the last 3 weeks the dude is a midwit comedian who has no idea what the fuck he's doing. And today,
and a dictator.
And a fellow comedian,
he's not a dictator.
Comic Dave Smith on Twitter, he put up a post that said, imagine being completely dependent on Donald Trump to the point that your life is quite possibly on the line. And then imagine your move was to try to alpha him on national television, a language you only kind of speak.
No, in a language that you've watched on TV before, but you've never actually experienced yourself personally.
Yep.
Absolutely stunning, but stellar and great entertainment, I might add.
We're thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make, because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks?
And there it is.
What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's
before you answer,
what do you say?
An attempted resurrection question for Trump via Zelensky. Nice.
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if the bomb drops on your head right now?
Excuse me.
I love it. I love it.
Hang on. Trump himself has earned one of these first. And second, I would like to point out that man, as far as I know, for the entire time he's been elected in office, has never actually once answered a hypothetical question, which is absolutely amazing, because hypotheticals are fucking retarded. I love when they're like, what are you going to do if he breaks the ceasefire? Maybe we should try to get the ceasefire first before we worry about whether or not he's going to break the motherfucker.
What are you going to do if the cargo door from a 747 falls and makes you go really flat and splats and kills you?
Excuse me, President Trump, what will you do if Putin sends Zelensky a dick pic?
Why did you go to that?
Because that's how ludicrous it is.
Have you seen Zelensky?
Yeah, but you go to a dick pic?
Have you seen Zelensky? It's quite obvious that he's the catcher in any situation he's in. Come on.
Wow. I'm just saying. Come on, man. By the way, thanks
if you've seen some of the outfits he used to parade around in when he was an entertainer.
Are you talking about Joe?
Yeah.
if I'd known you were going to ask that, I would have had a photo ready for that. By the way, thanks to everybody for listening right now. I'm BZ. Directly below me is Jersey Joe. Directly below that is Sean, and then Big E, and then Rowdy Rick from KLRN. We have 392 people that are watching live right now. That's just on this side. Let's see if we can break 400. Call your friends. Call your friends' friends. Call your cat. Have your cat pick up the phone. Have your cat give us a big thumbs up. Have your cat subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. Thanks for being here. And let's continue.
One thing that's getting me today, BZ,
Say that again, sir.
the one thing that's getting me today is the message that they're trying to push. Trump's a dictator. But hang on, isn't it the guy that he's arguing with, the one that canceled an election?
Yes.
For control of his country?
Yes.
The guy that wants to keep
closed churches.
Hang on.
Perpetual war going.
I don't want to defend the midget, but his constitution actually declares that once they do martial law, they can't actually hold elections. Now, the closing churches and everything else, that's bullshit. But their country's constitution precludes elections as long as martial law has been declared. So that's why that's not happening. Which is why, as Earl pointed out earlier, they are trying to impeach him now that he's not in the country.
As I've said before numerous times, and everyone here has said it as well, timing is everything.
I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama.
Thank you.
They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony.
Now, is anybody kind of surprised? This would have been a perfect opportunity. And to me, this shows restraint on Trump's part, where he could have looked this little shitbag in the eye and said something similar to, talking to you in public got articles of impeachment thrown upon me. But he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. But while you've got this paused, I do want to make another point, because this goes back to something that J.D. Vance said a while ago, now that Trump has brought this up. I would like to remind everybody that according to the left, Russia was able to steal an election with $150,000 worth of Facebook ads. I don't know if any of you have ever run businesses, but $150,000 worth of Facebook ads ain't shit. So one, if that actually worked, that would be akin to the Miracle on Ice and is probably one of the smartest and cheapest election buys ever. But I would also like to point out that the same people that were telling us that this means that Trump is obviously some sort of a Russian asset seem to completely overlook that the midget motherfucker sitting right there campaigned for the other side in the most key battleground state that we've had in an election for forever. You want to talk about international election interference? That is it in a nutshell, and nobody on either side said a word.
There are so many further slaps that could have occurred there. Oh, stop. Oh, stop, you silly people. We're at 398. We're almost ready to break 400. Nice. Let's continue.
Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam, Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff.
You know what I'm going to do right now. Let's go back. Now, look at the eyes. Watch, and then think of your kids.
Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam, Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam.
Eye roll. Thank you.
Schiff, it was a Democrat scam, and he had to go through that, and he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war.
Again, under stress. These are stress lines. This is defeatism, but this is stress.
I
am not getting my bags of cash. I don't know what to do because I'm not getting my bags of cash.
That looks more to me like he's just wishing he could go into the bathroom and do a bump.
I'd like to go.
He would rather be anywhere than there right now.
Yeah, anywhere but here. Oh, fuck that bathroom. What happened to the urinals?
Accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom.
Bathrooms.
It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. the 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam, and he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff.
79-year-old guy actually has a memory. Huh.
Funny how that happens, huh?
Yeah, I hate that. No,
It's funny what happens when you have a president that's not a fucking potted plant.
yeah, that's just despicable. Again, moose and squirrel.
All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened, but he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States.
Excuse me. After you take a roundhouse and you punch me in the face, excuse me, while I deliver an uppercut to you in return.
And your people are very brave.
I wonder
you're
if
either
this
going to make
ambassador
a deal.
wishes she could throw in
Say it
a
again.
towel. I say, I wonder if the ambassador wishes that she could throw in a towel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she does.
Oh, she's still looking like that.
Throw the damn towel.
Just doing this like
Which Rocky movie was it? Throw the towel.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
Rocky
my-
Ford.
Yeah,
Oh, the
jeez.
damn towel.
Well,
I mean,
we're out.
you
And if
should
we're
be
out,
paying for a building.
fight it out.
Say it again.
I said fitting it was against a Russian.
Yeah.
Moose
And
and squirrel.
at this point, she's just praying for a bell to ring, and there's not a bell in
Yeah.
sight.
Yeah. Can I get it to stop? Hey, where's my cut man? I need a cut man.
I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not.
Okay, something got him when he talked about cards. Now, what caused him to actually look for the first time in at least 5 minutes? Something motivates Zelensky to look at Trump in the eyes here. What
He's not
was that?
understanding the use of the word cards over and over and over again because he pointed out.
Yeah, I
earlier
don't think he
in
did. I don't think he
that we're
did
not
get it.
playing cards, so he didn't get it. So the fact that Trump keeps bringing it back up pissed him off.
Okay. All right.
Acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right. We'll see what we can do about putting it together.
Jackie Heinrich from Fox News, and I haven't seen this everywhere, but I saw it from her, is reporting that Trump essentially threw Zelensky out of the White House.
Oh yeah, he did.
He did.
So they canceled the press conference.
Okay.
The lunch was left sitting in the hallway,
It
and-
gave the lunch to the press.
and basically he didn't know the staffers literally ate Zelensky's lunch.
They did. God, thank you. Someone actually made that point in here. Jeez, if that doesn't deserve, I don't know what does. They ate Zelensky's lunch. It was literal. Jersey Joe has this.
I have the same sign in my house for my wife too. So
That's fantastic.
Ow. I hope she's not watching.
no, she's in bed.
So
My daughter's
I'll-
watching.
Okay.
All I can say,
He'll
all I
rat me
can say
out.
about all I can say about this again. Ba-da-ba-bum, ba-da-bum-bum. Okay, I'm done.
Do. Oh, and also, let's add this to the stage. Sackhead Sean threw this out there. Doug Rose, or wait, Jackie Heinrich. White House, because I'm reading this because, you know, it might be audio only right now on Spreaker in a podcast. And also, this is really small on the screen. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's what she said.
Jackie Heinrich, yeah. Never heard that before. 399 people watching live right now. Folks, give
Right
SHR
there.
and KLRN, give us one more person. Come on. One
Just start
more.
it on your phone. Somebody started on their phone.
Just one more person we went down one. 398. Anyway, Jackie Heinrich, White House officials tell Fox, Trump kicked out Zelensky. He did not walk off on his own. Rare minerals deal was not signed. White House says Ukrainians were begging to reset, but Rubio and Waltz informed them Zelensky needs to leave the White House grounds and return when he's ready for peace. As Trump stated, the president and U.S. officials felt disrespected, by Zelensky's rhetoric and demeanor, cited that he was shrugging and rolling his eyes. We've all seen that. I stopped at every salient point during the conversation. When I went to upper press and asked what was going on, the lunch that Trump and Zelensky were supposed to dine on and talk over was sitting in the hallway. I'm told White House press office staffers will be eating it. Hence, eating his lunch. And again, I use words sometimes, like, that's cool, that's grand, that's wonderful, that's delicious. It's really delicious. 400. Can you see, folks, right up here? I don't know if you see this.
We don't get to see that on our end. We only get to see the time.
Up here on me, I guess, because I don't know why. 400 people. We got 400 people. So
yeah,
we
can't see that over here.
Nice.
Thanks to everyone for that. We, in fact, greatly appreciate it. Well, now I'd like to transmogrify over to this, because this also was delicious. Because as everyone has already said here tonight, when you lose the war hawk, you're fucked.
Is this better? All right.
Take it, Lindsay.
So
He has.
Oh, he takes it. All right.
He takes it all right.
I've been to
You
Ukraine
boys.
8 or 9 times since the war started. I understand the consequences of Putin's actions against Ukraine. I appreciate what the Ukrainian people have done. They fought like tigers. At the end of the day, I was hoping that this minerals deal, which would be transformative in the relationship, would go over well. I talked to Zelensky this morning. Don't take the bait. President Trump was in a very good mood last night. Somebody asked me, am I embarrassed about Trump? I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance, standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting, the way he confronted the president, was just over the top.
What's up with the haircut?
So I think the relationship between Ukraine and America is important, vitally important. But can Zelensky do a deal with the United States? After what I saw, I don't know.
You just had lunch with President Trump. What did he say to you about his interactions and whether he thinks
he was shocked? He was very upbeat. I told Zelensky, we'll talk about security guarantees. We'll talk about ceasefires and how the war ends. This is a process. You have a new relationship with America, a $500 billion, $500 billion deal that President Trump is proud of, that gives us an interest worth defending. Let's talk about the positive. But he was terrible at Munich, Zelensky, and I think he has made it almost impossible to sell to the American people that he's a good investment, that he is a good business partner.
Last question. Senator Graham. Hey, one at a time. One at a time. Christian Daytop. Senator Graham, thank you. Do you think President Zelensky needs to resign to resume these peace talks?
He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
So that's Lindsey Graham. And which aspect of SHR put this in? I think it was Sean, when they say he's trying to stay on the right side of history.
Ding. That was me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I absolutely concur. He is trying to stay on the proper side of history. You guys remember the only time that I can recall Lindsey Graham getting sufficiently pissed off is when, I think it was the hearings with Kavanaugh.
Yep.
Because that got personal. And I think this got personal with Lindsey, who was supporting Zelensky up to this point, But basically, he shat all over him. And Lindsey Graham, Warhawk decided, okay, apparently I can see what side my toast is buttered. And it's not the proper side that I want. So I'm not going to be in support of that right now.
What it amazes me, I guess that would be the right thing to say, is as we're sitting here talking and all day I've been going through and all these nations are backing Zelensky. This is a man who does not want to end a war. He wants to continue war. We know it's all about money, but I've never seen or read in history a group of countries that want to continue a war. They don't want no end to it at all.
I'll tell you why.
The first question you must ask in everything these days, USAID, politics, cui bono.
I'll tell you exactly why, Joe.
Follow the money. Oh, yeah.
If all of these countries who are supporting Zelensky in Ukraine, if they're giving them all of their old equipment, all of it mostly American, then they will get newer American equipment. It's laundering.
Yeah, was my point before. Exactly, at replacement value, which is more than the value of the equipment ascribed to them.
But if they're so supportive, why aren't they funding this? It's Europe's problem.
No, but that's why, is because they want. Look, the same reason why all these little pissants on X and all this other place who are flipping out over this, they are so used to us funding everything in this fucking world,
bending over.
They cannot tolerate the idea that we won't. And more importantly, what's even more crazy to me, they don't even want to imagine a world where we don't fund everything. Because
they think that we're supposed to, and they think that if we don't, that somehow we're abandoning our responsibility. And it's like, no, our responsibility is to the American people. Right. And then once we get our own house in order, then maybe we'll consider helping you out.
I mean, so devil's advocate moment here, because the problem that I have with all this is something that I brought up on my show earlier today. We have been, and we made ourselves this after World War II, when we realized that, because at that point we sided with the communists to help end fascism, and then we realized the communists were just about as bad, which led to the Cold War and everything else. So when the Cold War sprung up, we decided that we were going to be the ones to help Europe survive and eventually hopefully end the Cold War. That was a tactical decision that we made. We started taking steps to help create the things like the United Nations and NATO and everything else to make sure that, as the Cold War became a thing, we were building a coalition to make sure that if the worst thing happened, we would be able to do that. So that's been our foreign policy since the 40s. That's been our primary goal since the 40s, is to basically show everybody what democracy looks like and use things like USAID, which were originally created in the 60s, to be a counterpunch to the communist push and show them, hey, this is what freedom looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is also what you can have. Nobody's taken into account, though, that the world started drastically changing in 1988 and 1989 because communism started dying on its face. Communism still exists. This is another part that nobody wants to talk about because it's still a thing. But on its face, it was dying. The problem was because we had stepped in everywhere, nobody could survive without us anymore. And it was beneficial to us for a while because we were able to hold the money over everybody's head and say, you're either going to do things our way or you're not going to get this. And then eventually that stopped working.
Yep.
Well, the EU was built on American taxpayer dollars.
Exactly.
In a perfect world, what occurred is our hard-earned taxpayer dollars got shipped overseas to the European Union so that they could have the social means that we couldn't afford ourselves. So the largesse that we sent across the pond to them, they utilized not for their defense, but for their own social welfare programs, and then boasted about it to us because
look-
we were Neanderthals and they were the true civilized people.
And I think that's
assholes.
the thing. I think that's part of it. And I think that's why so many people are starting to notice, though, because so many people didn't see how bad it was until USAID money started drying up. And suddenly there were stories about 70-year-old ladies in third world countries that supposedly had universal health care that were dying because they didn't have access to oxygen because we weren't paying for it anymore. Here's the dirty little secret. All of those countries that were looking down their noses at us only have the social programs that they have because we were either funding their defense or funding it through the back door using USAID, which means without us, they can't have any of that. And I'm sorry, when you've been looking down, when Canada and fucking Great Britain and all these other countries have been looking down their noses at us and saying, well, look at us, we're so much better than you. When in reality, you couldn't have any of these things. And that's honestly why Europe is freaking out right now, because they have realized they're going to have to start shifting money to their defense because the world has changed and we can't be the world's police and the world's doctors and the world's moral equivalency anymore. Because here's the dirty little secret. We have over $3 trillion. We have over a $3 trillion deficit. We are $37 trillion in debt. And that clock goes up by like $10 a second. If you look, it's insane. I was talking to my brother-in-law today, and it went up by $1 million while we were on the phone for the first 10 minutes. That blew my mind because I've never really paid that much attention to it before. And that's the truth of it. We can't be the world's piggy bank anymore because the piggy bank is empty. And instead of the world realizing that, they are latching on even tighter and trying to suck us dry instead of figuring out how to stand up on their own. Look at how quick those numbers are fucking going up. That is insane. It's gone up by $200,000 in the last 20 seconds.
Yep, it's insane.
Think about that.
Well, the other part of it is you have to admit that, and probably, I don't know, rightly so, you'd have to say, just as Biden trained Zelensky, we've, in our own evil little way, trained Europe and others to expect that this will continue.
Yeah,
because
it cannot, because I don't remember who said this, you know, a couple $100 billion here and a couple $100 billion there. And pretty soon you're talking real money.
Well, that's the thing, though. This allowed us to shape policy everywhere. So,
I got to jump in real quick, guys.
Go ahead.
I got to bail. I'm sorry. I got to bail. I got to be up in a couple hours. So
okay,
I do apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. Take care, sir. Thanks for having been here. Appreciate it.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a great night, Joe. It was a blast. But no, back to what I was saying a second ago. Through the military-industrial complex, they figured out they could use our money and our military structure and our military equipment, etc., to influence foreign policy. So, and that started in the late 40s. So what Kennedy found out or thought about was there's a private sector way to do the same fucking thing. And that was the plan with USAID. And for a while, it did what it was supposed to do. It was a goodwill venture. It brought medicine into countries that needed it. It showed them that, you know, freedom may be the way to go instead of listening to these crazy communist bastards. And then at some point, the left completely hijacked it. And it started around 1998. And the rest is history. And now we're seeing everything that they've done with it because, again, they have figured out a private sector way to do the same thing that we were doing with our military sector, which is influence policy and destabilize things.
Sackhead Sean sent me this. Here's, I don't know if I can, I can't make it any bigger than this. I'm so sad. Zelensky walking into the Oval Office today, which I think is, that's marvelous. Before we go, I want to address a couple more things. I have 2 videos yet to play, and then a final question for everyone. And the overlay that's going to lead to it is this. Now, we knew that the Zelensky canceled a couple of appearances. I don't recall where they were, but he did keep his appointment with Bret Baier. And I happened to watch a portion of that. And if he was intelligent, then Zelensky would have said something similar to, well, you know, I sadly got way out over my skis. 404 people watching live right now. Thanks to everyone. I'm looking at these figures right now. 404. Coolio. Zelensky got out way over his skis and then decided that, unfortunately, I got kind of silly there. I'm going to continue being silly. So here's 50 seconds of Zelensky with Brett Baer.
Broken 25 times ceasefire during all these years, 10 years.
So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect president and I respect American people. And if
first word out of his mouth was no,
I don't know if I think that we have to be very open and very honest. And I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of.
So I ask again to everybody here and all the folks watching, was it a seriously piss poor tactical error to not use a translator, if for no other reason than to give this guy the ability to think?
Yeah, I don't know if you have it in the clip, but he has a translator here.
Oh, he does.
He does.
Thank you for saying that, because I was just going to make that point. Whereas he wasn't listening to whomever was available there in the office. Here, it comes up with a word is mentioned. You can hear a translator off screen. So, yes, you're correct, Rick. He did bring one here.
Out of media, with all respect to democracy and to free media, but there are things where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians, and I think that is the most important thing. Yes, we are partners. We are very close partners. We have.
By the way, he looked off to the right. That's where his translator is.
To be fair, we have to be very free. He broken.
So then there's another one. Before I get to the other one, anybody have any comments up to this point? Because this is another minute, and then we can wrap up. And then I want to ask everybody a final question. And let's put Zelensky.
Has anybody noticed how often he's looking up into the right when he's talking, though?
Yeah, that's a tick that certain people have. When you're looking up to the right, it generally not 411. We've hit 411. Excuse me.
We're officially not a midget anymore.
That's right. 412. We've hit 412.
Taller than Zelensky.
That's right.
We can qualify for games now.
We are 5 feet tall. Thank God to everyone. So generally when you're looking up and to the left, you're thinking. When you're looking up and to the right, you're thinking. But you're thinking, how am I going to extract myself out of this? That's another thing you learn. Anyway, let's put this up on the screen and start again. This is another minute. Says that he thinks Trump is going to is going to give him a second chance, because guess what? That's my final question.
Last thing, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Can be.
Okay, there's his translator.
Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people help to save our people.
Do we?
No, we don't.
Do we have to?
I mean, we technically did for a long time by giving all the aid and everything. You could argue that we were saving their lives, but that still doesn't change the fact that he was putting them in harm's way.
What does BLM say about wildlife? And is it applicable to people?
Oh, yeah. The more you feed them.
Don't feed the fucking bears.
Yep.
Because it makes them dependent on your food. And then when you stop feeding them,
they become aggressive.
You get this shit stick right here.
Yeah. The first, human rights, the first. This is very, very important. And we are thankful and sorry for this. We wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I very confident we will have it.
Notice he said we wanted a strong relation, but he did not say we wanted to sign the treaty.
No, he didn't say he was interested in a fucking ceasefire.
Right. That's what I mean. He said he could have said we were interested in signing today and ending this, and he didn't.
We are very sorry, Moose. We did not mean for any of this to happen.
That's true. Moose
is bullshit. This is bullshit.
Moose and Squirtle. So, final question for everybody, because it's getting late, and Jersey tried to skip out, and Earl's in Central, Rick's in Central, Sean and I are in Pacific. And
yeah, but I never sleep.
Right now. Well, that's true. I never sleep anyway, but that's for another horde of reasons. But having said that, final question is, what does Zelensky do if he goes back? And I think it was intentional. Trump was not going to let him come back. Trump kicked him out of the White House, and that was something similar to go to your room, go to your corner, think about it a little bit, and then when you've thought about it, maybe you can come back. Does he come back? Will Trump let him come back? Sackhead Sean, go.
No. Trump will not let him come back, but there will be a deal signed, probably via Marco Rubio overseas. I think that, March, or almost March, right? I think
technically where I am, it is March. You living in the bastard.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
I think by April, we get a deal. End of April.
Big E, what do you think, sir?
Yeah, I agree with Sean. He won't be back, assuming he's still in power to make the deal. I think sometime in the next maybe 3 weeks, we'll get a deal signed, and it probably will be by, like you said, Marco Rubio, but it won't be at the White House.
Okay, Righty Rick, what do you think, sir?
Well, with some of the rumblings that I've heard today, I would be surprised if he's still in power long enough to make a deal, but we'll see. If he remains in power, then there will be a deal signed, I believe, and I think Sean's right. I think it'll take probably about another 30 days to get it completely hashed out, make everything, work this time. But it won't be happening on U.S. soil. I don't think he will ever be allowed anywhere on U.S. soil again.
Well, and he doesn't want this. I mean, you brought it up earlier with the constitution that Ukraine has. He knows as soon as this war ends, he's out of power.
Exactly.
If he doesn't survive the impeachment, the minute that treaty's signed and they have their election, which I believe once they postpone it, they have to do it as soon as it's reasonable. After undoing martial law, he's gone.
Yeah.
Well, could you not say that today, in the span of, I don't know, however the hell long that thing was, 2 hours,
about an hour and a half,
that this guy right here managed to rip defeat out of the jaws of victory. He could have had a deal when he walked the hell in if he'd just taken a big cup of shut the fuck up.
It's just like Graham said. The president was in a great mood. He was expecting a signing, and we will work out the rest of the details later. And this is the thing that Trump kept trying to say over and over again without coming out and saying it, because he's not trying the Biden approach and calling Putin all kinds of names, which I guarantee you they are not having friendly conversations about this shit behind the scenes. I guarantee you some of the same conversations that he's been having with Zelensky that we saw today have probably been happening with Putin too, because he's like, look, dude, you're fucking with my shit here. I guarantee you. So, but the whole thing is, and Vance brought this up earlier today. Biden spent 3.5 years calling Putin names. Did it fix anything? No.
Nope.
But I mean, yeah. So the whole thing about it is he could have walked out today with everything that he wanted, with guarantees from us that we were going to have contractors on the ground, which means even if it wasn't our own military personnel, we would have sent our own black-clad troops over to protect them, because everybody knows we have them. we've been using them in places like Afghanistan for forever. And I know this because the boots on the ground folks that I know hate those motherfuckers.
Squatch Zone had an interesting comment. When he gets back, will they send him to the front lines? It's an interesting postulation, I might suggest.
They're gonna send him on a goodwill tour, and he's not coming back.
420. We hit 420 right now. In some other state, that might be significant. Not more.
It would be significant.
It will be for me because as soon as we wrap up, I'm just saying.
Okay, just hashtag just saying.
Just
as
saying.
far as that's concerned.
And-
So, I guess another question, or maybe I should just stop with the questions. We've had a great show, and I think
just an FYI, according to ADSB Exchange, the Ukrainian Airbus A319 is overseas right now out of American airspace. So that was the last time he is going to be in America.
Na 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 na
na. Hey, goodbye. And with that, poor singing.
That's how you're gonna let him go. You're gonna
Show right there, strong. You ended strong, just like that.
I know. So, in terms of ending strong, Rick Robinson, tell everybody about KLRN, about your shows, where you can be found, and KLRN, if you would please, sir.
All right. Well, this is going to take a second, so bear with me.
Sure.
KLRNradio.com is everywhere our schedule can be found. That's going to be a lot easier. As far as tomorrow night, what we've got going on is I'll be running the boards for the Front Porch Forensics crew. That is our true crime podcast. That one kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern. 10 p.m. Eastern, myself and Ordnance J. Packard will be doing our every 2-week foray into the weird, the unusual, the unexplainable that we call juxtaposition, otherwise known as our conspiratainment show. Topic TBD, because we haven't thrown notes around yet. That'll happen some point tomorrow. You can find me at RowdyRick73. You can follow along with our network/station at KLRN Radio, our new news arm at Digital Beacon US. You can find us on YouTube and Rumble as well. And when I'm not doing all that stuff, I am the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on Tuesdays. I contribute to Misfits Politics, Twitchy.com, TheLoftusParty.com, and coming soon to BuffoonOfTheWeek.com, because it's not like I don't have enough.
I was going to say, might as well add one more thing.
I don't know. Someday you'll come out of your shell and actually do a job. You remind me way too much of a federal employee at this point. Oh, sad.
Hey, at least I can respond to a bullet point email, so I've got that going for me.
Yeah.
You do.
Show me federal employees. I speak Elon Musk, and all Musk asked was, "Can you fog a mirror?" That's all he asked.
The funniest thing about that is even the people that were like, "Oh my God, he's wanting me to disclose classified information in an unsecure email." No, first of all, the email specifically said don't disclose anything classified. And if that's all you do, all you have to say is, well, I did this classified thing, 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 and I did this classified thing. If you have any other questions, this is my supervisor.
Yeah.
Why is that so fucking hard?
No. Not.
People
Rick
spend more
Robinson.
time complaining about it on CNN and MSDNC than it would take
Then it
them
would
to actually write the
actually
email.
doing it.
To accomplish the task. Rowdy Rick, thank you for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll be bigfooting your
It
show
has been my pleasure.
on Tuesday again. So thank you kindly, sir. Big E, tell us about your show and when it's going to be on next, and let the folks know about you, please, sir.
Absolutely. Well, the show is Mission Ready Men. I kind of switched it up, calling it the Mission Ready Men Briefing. And it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central Time. I actually did a special Friday show today because the scheduling and all that stuff. But yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m. Central. And I talk about the news of the day, and I try to incorporate some biblical truths to help us navigate this ridiculousness that we call that we call society right now. And And I also love doing these specials with you guys.
Well, thank you ever so kindly. And thanks for being here tonight, Big E.
See?
Thank you, sir. And second, Sean, host of
Yeah.
Edge of Liberty. Tell us about you.
Every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on SHR Media, simulcast with our good friends over at KLRN, as you are. Also love making appearances on shows like this and like your show. And, occasionally I write articles, and occasionally I throw out TikToks and stuff like that. So a little bit of everything. And by the way, you're not looking at the private chat, but what's your final count?
I see 425 here.
Oh,
wait. Okay, at the bottom. Okay, yeah, you're right. Ratty Rick says 384. So y'all beat us, but it was close. So
it was close.
In a nutshell, 1,000 people are watching the show tonight. Live.
Outstanding news. Thank you to everybody.
That was just damn fucking awesome. Sorry for the fucking cursing, but it was damn fucking awesome.
It's awesome. You can follow me on Twitter at Edge of Liberty, and please like and subscribe. Follow SHR Media on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, all you have to do is click subscribe. You don't have to click the bell, but the more subscribers we have, the more we reach, the more we beat the algorithm. And we don't ask you for anything. It's absolutely free to subscribe. And thank you very much for having me.
And thank you, sir. As Roddy Rick says in the chat, joke them if they can't take a fuck or a foul mouth. And with that, thanks to everybody for being here tonight. Holy moly, was this a show. 5 people. You got 5 people for the price of, oh, that's right. We're not charging you anything to be here. There is no paywall at SHR. We're not charging you to be in the chat room. We're not charging you anything. So you can be here all the time at SHR. You don't have to pay anything to KLRN. Now, if you buy some KLRN merch, or if you buy some SHR merch, that's cool. Or as Rick says, no cover charge at BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, the radio show. I'll be back next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern, because that's why it's a late night show. And per normal, my promotional consideration is by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones. Arrakis, they make my board. Pratt & Whitney engines featuring thrust you can trust. And also, I like to give thanks to my KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in just a few minutes because, well, on account of because. Everybody, God bless, take care, be safe. 424 on our end, 300 plus, about 1,000 people listening live. OMFG. Thanks to you, everybody. God bless. Take care. Be safe.